I've spent really almost 3 decades as a registered person, the last 10 years not registered, but I'll reflect back on that. I was NASD FINRA registered since 1986. I was chairman of the District Business Conduct Committee in New Orleans, District 6. I was on the Small Firms Advisory Board. I've been a corporate director for a public company. So I spent a lot of my life with the 33 and 34 Acts and all the great work all of you have advocated for. But one of the things as a CEO, a managing general principal, with 3 different firms that just irritated the absolute tar out of me is this idea that we're going to start with enforcement before we inform anybody of what it is that we're trying to solve. And I want to visit with Mr. Iacovella because this one really burns me up because it's a classic example where people assert that if they don't correct this immediately, our world will come to an end. It'll cease spinning on its axis. So the government decides to shut down the economy during COVID-19. None of us knew what was going to be we were here. We didn't know what the real result of all this was. We were dealing with the crisis in real time, just like the private sector was. But so people who were financial advisors, registered broker-dealer employees were sent home. And I don't think they were told not to ever talk to their customers again. And so they were sent home and they probably had a VPN to dial into a laptop that maybe was company owned, maybe it wasn't. And a lot of people in the modern world don't have a landline, so they were talking on their cell phone. Well, this is the case for everyone here. All the members of Congress, exactly the same situation. Not ideal. But here comes the commission suddenly in 2021 and suddenly dreams up this idea that, oh my God, there are people with off-channel communications. These registered broker-dealers are not storing every text message. Clearly, this is a violation of the communications rules, the correspondence rules, the approval by a principal of anything you say to a client rule, and they began to enforce that. And I don't think my friends on either side of the aisle really appreciate how outrageous this was. Starting with the C-suite. We want all your texts. We're going to write you a letter. Our lawyer's going to contact you. And if you don't give us all your texts and access to your phone, we're going to, then, I guess, take action against the firm. And it resulted in billions and billions and billions of dollars of fines for these firms for something that all you had to do was say in a notice to members under FINRA or under a proper rulemaking from the SEC. We believe now in the modern age that we want to collect and treat as correspondence, treat as principal-approved communication, texting, or emails, or even a telephone call on your personal phone because you were sent home from your office, so no, we're not recording it. And there's nobody here that would dispute that. But instead of publishing a notice to members, we just start fining people. And yet we have a chairman of the SEC who has lost his text messages that we've subpoenaed from this committee for. So the hypocrisy is not lost on me or on the Inspector General at the SEC. So, Mr. Iacovella, how do we get this back on track? Firms want to do good faith compliance. All you have to do is tell a firm, here's our expectation, here's the time frame, and we want you to comply. How did the scale and structure of these penalties affect perceptions of fairness and credibility at the SEC?
Thank you, Congressman. I think what you said is exactly what should have been done. There should have been a notice to the industry that said, we understand there were extenuating circumstances during COVID and that people communicated through texting. We would expect you before the next examination to collect all of that information and have it ready. And if you don't, then there better be a good reason why, and you could be subject to fines as a result of that. But that's not what happened. What happened was...
I go into the detail because I think it's a perfectly good case study about exactly what we're talking about today under the leadership of Ann Wagner. And I would say, what hypocrisy. that the chairman of the SEC cannot produce and retain his own text messages for review by this committee. Yield back.